In this video, we're going to look at adding a new account and some of the options that you'll have for managing passwords and communication. And this is important in the sense of new students and getting them used to setting passwords, getting them used to being able to recover their password, and hopefully to mitigate some of those risks. So let's take a look at that together. So we're going to go into the admin section, and then we're going to go into student maintenance. Then we're going to click on add a student. So in this case, what we're going to do is add a new student and then look at the options for generating passwords and requiring students to change their password. So let's add in the name. And then we're going to add in the email address that we're going to send the communication and the email address that is going to be a part of this account. And then we'll look at username. Now the way that the system works is it can either auto-generate a username. It does it based on the email address, or I can add one in. In my case, I'm going to actually add that in. Then I'm going to look at passwords. So this is really the area that we want to focus the most on. I can either set a password, so I can set it here by typing it in. If I type in that password, it still has to meet the password issues and the requirements. So for instance, adding a password here must meet these same requirements. So just keep that in mind. It still has to be 8 to 10 characters, 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, and at least 2 numerical digits or special characters, but staying away from these particular special characters. So you can do that, or you can allow the system to auto-generate a password. Now the advantage to allowing it to auto-generate the password is that the system will always generate one that's pretty secure. It's going to fit the criteria, and it's going to be a very unique password. The downside to it being a unique password is that it's usually not something that a student would remember. I can't say I've been able to remember any of them, and I always change it to something that I can remember. And it's something that, and that's long term, that's a better solution anyway. So I'm not going to enter a password, and I am not going to enter an external ID. I'm going to let the system do that. So, but to get that option, I must click on the auto generate password, and you'll notice that this goes gray, so therefore I cannot enter anything anymore. If I change my mind, I can undo it and then add one, but obviously that's not what we're going to do. I can also send a confirmation email. So sending a confirmation email will send an email to the student that says, here's your username, here's your password, and then they'll be able to log into the system. Oh, and also what URL to go to. So it's going to send them the URL that's associated with. In addition to that, then, we'll also be looking at whether or not we want to require the student to enter a new password at login. What I like about this feature is it says, hey, I'm sending you a password, and it's really, really, really unique, and it's really secure, but again, like we said earlier, it may not be one that they can remember. So if we require them to add a new password when they log in, they're going to set something that they can remember. It might be something they use for another site. It might be something that they've got a pattern that they use that they can remember. But whatever it is, we want to get the student to the point where it's a password that they know. And the risk that mitigates is they don't call you and say, I don't know my password, can you reset it? That actually can be, 1 or 2 students periodically is fine, but if you get a lot, that can really drain your time. So this is a way of mitigating some of that risk. Okay, so then once we add that information in, we've chosen all of those things, we're going to click Add New Student. And then what it does is it says, here's the username and here's the password. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold on to this because I want to make sure I have that information. However, it is going to send me an email that says, hey, you've been added to this, and all your information is there. So I'm going to log out. And now I'm going to log back in so that I can see that information. So let me paste this into a document so that I can paste it into these areas too. And then when that email comes in, I will show it to you. All right. So I'm back here. So now we're going to enter that information. So I'm going to do 01. And then I'm going to copy and paste the password. And that's a really good practice. Copying and pasting, if you try to read it and then just type it in, students often will go wrong when they do that because, they may not realize it's a certain thing, or, I's and ones sometimes confuse people. So copying and pasting is a good practice. So now I'm going to click on Login. And here's what happens first. So the student is then asked to watch this introduction video. It's a very, very basic introduction. So all it's really doing is showing how things work and what that looks like. So I'm going to, for the purpose of my demonstration, skip through this. I'll play the very end. And then we're going to go right into the instance. And here is what we did. So remember, as we said, we wanted the student to enter that information. So now I'm going to be prompted to add a password that I know. So I'm going to paste in the password that I received, and now I'm going to change it. And I'm changing it to something that I know. And now I won't be able to forget it. So now I'm going to click on Update. And I was successful. So now I'm going to go back to the login page and log in with my new password. And it was now successful. So that is a great practice and a good thought process for what it is that you want to accomplish. Now, have you noticed what happened next? This is the other risk mitigation step. I am now being challenged to add challenge questions. So what does this do? This is again a way to keep students from calling you and saying, oh, I forgot my password, I don't know what to do. They should set their challenge questions. So that involves answering these questions and entering this information. Now, unfortunately or unfortunately, the question often comes up as to they sometimes forget the answers, but this is another situation where they do need to be able to set them in a way that they can remember. Once those are submitted, then they get set that way, and then when the student goes to log in again, if they forget, so let's actually look at another login page since I haven't set them yet. So if the student forgets their password after they have set these challenge questions, when they go to the forget, they'll be able to go through the password reset process by entering those challenge questions. So again, this is a good risk mitigation process for making sure that students set passwords that work for them, passwords that are things they can remember. They also set the challenge questions, and that way that the situations where, oh, it's one I don't remember and it's one that I've forgotten, in both respects, they can do some self-help by going through that process.